So anyway, that it never lasted a great deal of time. It wasn't long before the company went down the tubes. That a lot of people were investing it properly and getting their vans wrapped, and we just couldn't keep up. We were like, what's happening? I'm driving into work and the boss phones me and he says, don't come in today, Gary. And I says, how's everything all right? He says, nah, the place is in flames.
Hi guys, welcome back to Taylor Talks Trades. In today's episode, I'm with Gary Smillie from Cube Wraps. Gary, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jamie. Thanks for having me.
I'm going to go back to the beginning, mate. How did you get into the trades?
Well, I suppose like Jamie, it's come back to, most people's come back to their school days, what they were into, what they weren't into. I liked school. I wasn't one of these guys who disliked it and was dogging it every 2 or 3 days of that. School was all right, but I wasn't totally academic when it came to English and maths and sciences and whatnot. I was more into the creative stuff. Even going back to primary school, one night I was sitting at my mum's kitchen table and Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles it was at the time we had the annuals, and I started I don't know why, but I just started sketching them in bits of blank paper and drawing all the turtles and Splinter and Shredder, and I'm looking and I'm going, they're really good, do you know what I mean? And I'd kind of discovered I had a wee bit of a talent for kind of drawing and things like that, so that's what I get into at primary. And then obviously getting into high school, as I said, English and stuff wasn't, I turned up, I done all right, but art and design, woodwork, tech drawing, all that sort of stuff was what I had an interest in. Yeah. So I did excel at all that kind of stuff. So I stayed on at school right up to 6th year. Did I need to? Probably not. I could have left a year earlier, however. But you've always got, I don't know if you had it at every school, but we had a careers library, and the careers advisor would sit you down when you were about to leave and ask you what you were wanting to do, and they would try and help you and whatnot. So she found me a wee placement in a kind of local signage company in Coatbridge. It was called the Skill Seekers. I don't know if you remember it, you don't remember it. It was 56 quid a week, plus your bus fare. So I started there, as I say, it was a wee signage company, signs, roll-up banners, things like that. Before that, actually, obviously I never lived off 56 quid a week. I was working kind of part-time in McDonald's as well for the age of 16. I was doing local shifts on the ice cream van, serving, learning people skills and things like that, I suppose. It was a good laugh. So I was kind of juggling these two kind of part-time jobs as well as my skill seekers. So in that, I was in front of a Mac. I was just putting together kind of shop signage, artwork, thing, nothing.
So this is the design side of it, yeah? The
design side, yeah. So that's what I'd went in, that was what I said my interest was. So I was sitting in front of a Mac and I was just doing basic stuff. I'd never heard the Adobe before. I'd never heard the Adobe Illustrator. It was all new to me. So I'm in there for a wee while and I'm doing bits and pieces on the computer. It's a small company. There was 4 of us in total. And they had a printer and they had a plotter and all. So I wasn't in the door that long, and it was like, do you want to learn how to do this and do you want to learn? So I kind of started dipping my toes in different aspects and doing a wee bit of production and things like that as well, which was good. I enjoyed it. I was more drawn to the production side when I started doing that as opposed to sitting in front of a screen all day. So anyway, it never lasted a great deal of time. It wasn't long before the company went down the tubes. Right. So at this point I would have been probably 18. The company next door, it was quite strange. The company next door done a similar kind of thing, even though it was quite a niche industry. There was like 2 companies beside each other.
It's like hairdressers, eh? There's like one every 3 shops, and you're like, how many people are actually getting their hair cut?
So it was a bit bizarre. Company next door, they manufactured as well. I don't know if you know a pop-up display. Yeah. You see them in airports and shopping centres and all that. So they actually manufactured the frames and shipped them kind of all over the world and stuff, printed the graphics and whatnot. So they took on the unit. Once that company went bust, they took on that unit. and the owner of that company had somehow sourced my number, gave me a phone. He says, look, do you want to come back and work for me? And I says, aye, brilliant. So it was quite lucky. I was going to the same place. Instead of getting into Unit 3, I was going into Unit 4. And it was just the same thing, different company I was working for. So again, that was good. I made a lot of good pals there as well, who I'm still in touch with. One of them's actually my operations manager to this day. But again, that company went bust. Right, again, no, and I'm like, what's going on? So, kind of walked away from that, and I'm like, what do I do now? What do I do? So I'm just out driving about in my wee Saxo one day, and I seen this kind of banner, and it's in Airdrie, signage, blah blah blah. So I goes in, chaps the door. I says, look, you're looking for work. What experience have you got? And I says, well, I've done this, I've done that. I've only been doing it for a year. Yep. So again, another small company that was the owner, a guy in front of the Mac, and me. But again, had a printer, had a laminator, had a wee vinyl plotter, doing some van liveries and things like that. It wasn't wraps. Yep. I hadn't heard of wraps at this point. They were in existence, but it hadn't boomed yet. So again, got involved with all that and loving it, you know what I mean, in the production side, cutting the vinyl, weeding it, applying it to the vans, all that sort of stuff. It was great.
It's good because it's small as well, so it's like you're actually got, like with small companies like that, you get a chance to do absolutely everything.
A bit everything, aye. I mean, even at one point, I know nothing about web design or that, but he'd done a bit of web stuff, the owner, and he had me logging in. It was a cinema in down south somewhere, I can't remember the name of it, but he had me logging in every week into the back of the website and up changing all the movies that were shown in the times and all. I had to do that every kind of Monday morning when I went in. It took me an hour. Never touched anything like that after, but it was just
good to just
wee
know
bits
if you
of
really
everything
needed
that
to.
I've done. So driving into work again, maybe 6 months later or whatever, maybe a year, I'm driving into work and the boss phones me and he says, don't come in today, Gary. And I says, how's everything all right? He says, nah, the place is in flames. And I'm like, fucking wow, man, what's happening? I was already halfway there, so I continued my journey and I drove up. 4 fire engines outside, smoke coming out the roof, and I'm like, so I went home, and my boss phoned me. I'm trying not to use names and stuff like that. My boss phoned me and he says, look, that's unfortunate that happened. He says, I know a guy in the city centre. I'm quite pally with him, same sort of company. Yeah. Do you want to go and help him and I'll still pay you till I get things sorted? I says, aye, that's fine. So I was into a company in the south side of Glasgow. This point I was 20. They were a bit bigger. I mean, there was more staff, bigger premises, and this is when I first came across a vehicle wrap. Right. They had a printer called an Arizona, and it's just churning away, and they were printing a double-decker bus wrap for Coca-Cola Sevens. It was like some sort of football tournament. Aye. So that was what they were printing, and we were going out to install it in a bus company in Troon. So we're all out, and I'm like, what's going on here? I was totally blind.
Scaffold. So at this point, did you even you had heard the raps, but you just
at that point, I don't even think
it would just be a livery.
I don't even think I had, to be honest. I started asking, and I'm like, so you're going to cover that full bus, and they're like, aye, and it's called a wrap, and I'm like, right, okay. So I goes out and you're throwing up scaffold towers, and there's maybe 6 or 7 years old, kind of running about this bus, clearing it, and obviously I didn't know what I was doing. I was just there. I was helping. I was just there helping, seeing what was happening, taking it all in. So that was my first experience ever of a vehicle wrap. So as I say, that was 20 there when I started, and my boss, he liked what I'd done. I was running the printers, and he sat me down one day and he went, Gary, he says, would you mind if I phoned your boss and asked him if I can just take you on and just work for me? And I says, I'm easy, I'm liking it here, I'm enjoying it, I'm getting a shot of everything, and I've got a bit of responsibility. So that was it. So he sat him down and he says, look, I want to take Gary on, you cool with that? He says, aye, that's fine. So that was me in another company. So I was
didn't tell me this one went bust or went up in flames, or I'm not going to believe you.
Nah, you'll not believe me. It's worse.
Oh no.
No, it's not that bad, but no, it didn't all end well. So this was the last company, the last building that I worked in before I went myself, but I was there for 5 years. However, in the 5 years I was there, they were called 3 different names.
Right.
You know what I mean? Bust, new sign up, bust, new sign up. And I'm like, what's going on here? You know, I'm like, if I picked the right industry, how come all these companies are folding all the time? And so anyway, as I say, 5 years went on, and it was great. I learned loads there. The employer was, I got on with him. He taught me loads of stuff. I get sent away to Holland, away to the Avery Dennison factory where they manufacture all the vinyl, to learn about the vinyl. I get sent to Belgium. We bought a big 3.2 metre printer. It's called a Noor. And we done building wraps and all, so your banner mesh, and we done the one, it was the old biscuit factory outside the M8. Right, he was replacing that every kind of 3 months or 6 months, so this big machine printed the mesh banners. So I sent away to Belgium a few days for training on that and came back, and it was brilliant, you know what I mean? There was always overtime. I was there at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. I'd get up and I'd be back in at 8 o'clock, and just driven by the overtime and the money, and you know, and obviously at that point I was
seems like you're quite passionate about the stuff you were doing as well, so it always helps.
Definitely, and I had that drive that you wanted to earn. So even at the age of 12, jumping off here and going back, I had a tablet and macaroon run, do you know what I mean? I'm chapping the old pensioners' doors, selling sweets and stuff like that. I just had a bit of drive and a bit of an addiction for just earning your own money. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's like, it's money as well, but it's actually just doing something that you go, I've done something there, and you almost, the wee pat on the back that you get is the money. But it's there's so many people that's been on the podcast that like they always say, oh, I had the milk run, I had the tablet macaroon run, or whatever. It's like we all kind of got that wee bit fire early doors.
Exactly.
So what happened for there then?
So what happened there? So I was there for 5 years, as I said. New sign went up a couple of times, and I'm like, at that point I was 25, and I thought, right, I've learned enough here. Do you know what I mean? I think I can give this a crack myself. So I spoke to one of the other guys who was in that company at the time. He was an admin guy. He was in the office, so I didn't know nothing about pricing and invoicing and anything like that. Yeah. So that's what he done. There was another guy that worked there as well. There was actually 3 A's. We're going to set up or sell. The third guy kind of pulled out last minute. Said, look, too risky. I'm pulling out. So I think we'd agreed that we were all going to get, if we'd all borrow 10 grand each, we could get ourselves a wee deposit on a unit, buy a wee printer, bits and pieces that we needed, and just start for there. So this guy pulling out, we were like, going to fall a bit short. So we had to try and get a wee bit extra money together. So that's what we done. Again, I was the production guy, or the creative stuff, so I was doing artwork, printing, finishing, laminating, applying liveries to vans, things like that. I'd had a wee bit of experience in wrapping in the previous company that we worked for, but it wasn't my role there, you know what I mean? I think my boss came in one day and he says to me, we're doing a big contract for a hire company, and he says to me, Gary, I'll give you an extra $1,000 if you learn how to wrap. A year, right? And I'm like, I'm your man. You know what I mean? As soon as you hear that, and I'm like, he's a squeegee. So I was throwing doors and wings and all that on, and it didn't take long to kind of learn the basics. But as I say,
especially when you've got the foundational knowledge, everything that came before that, like you actually understand the design part, all the rest of it, how it's all getting pulled through, and then like, so you wouldn't want to just rattle it on when you know how much has went into it before.
Exactly.
It's good you see that whole picture as well.
Aye, exactly. So that's what happened. He says, I give you that, and I says, I learned a wee bit, and then we left. We didn't really do a great deal of wraps when we started ourselves. We still done a lot of signage and window graphics and posters, PVC banners, things like that. We did get some wraps, but we brought in freelancers, and we were using them because obviously I never had the mega amount of experience.
Probably the time as well. Like you could probably do like 3-4 of these in the same time. It would take you wrap it when you're not quite as stingy at that point. So.
And the freelancers are hitting it out 3 times as quick as what I would have done anyway. When there's another million things to do, so I was doing all the production stuff, and the other guy I went into partnership with, he was just sat at a desk, and I thought everything was in control. I thought everything was in hand. I was still naive, I suppose. I was 25, but it was the first time we'd done it. I'm just assuming that this guy.
He's doing everything right in terms of like, keeping the books right, finances,
pricing, all that. I'm just assuming that's all in hand.
Yep.
So 2 years passes and we're more busy all the time. I'm in there at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. He's kind of disappearing at 4 and 5 o'clock all the time. And I'm like, who's the mug here? Anyway, accountant sat us down one day and he went, guys, he's in a bit of bother here. These numbers aren't adding up and whatnot. And we're like, right, what's the options? He says, well, my advice is you probably just shut the doors and reopen. Yeah. Just call it a learning curve, which we did. So the same kind of thing, we did the same kind of thing that the company, you know what I mean? I'm saying, but I'm like, but the first time at it, right, okay, so we went at it again.
You probably thought that was quite normal as well, because you'd seen it happen so many times. You're like, this must just be this industry.
This must what happens. I mean, fucking cheers, easy. So we went at it again, and I'm like, right, okay, so obviously he's probably learned for this, so everything's going to be in hand again. So I'm just assuming that I've learned, he's learned, and everything's going to work out again. No, wasn't the case. So again, I should have been a wee bit more on top of things, checking things out. Yeah. We were busy all the time, but we were busy fools, man. You know what I mean? Pricing was all, yes, we're too cheap, giving everything away for nothing. We're not making a bean. 2 years later, the accountant's like, again, guys, man, this is, and I'm like, So I says, right, no, that's it. I says, I'm done. Do you know what I mean? We went at it twice. It's no work. So I just walked away. And I've not seen the guy since. That was, what age was I then? 25. Must have been about 29 or something like that.
Yeah. What year was that? Can you mind? No.
43, 14 years ago, probably.
I was just trying to get, because I started up in
2011.
2012 I was, I think. End of 2012 I started up. So I was just trying to think when our paths kind of first crossed. But we'll get to that anyway.
It's about the same time frame, Jamie, because when I started, when all that happened, and I'm like, right, no, I'm going to do this myself. I didn't know anything about admin and invoicing and pricing and all that, so that was what kind of I was worried about. But I'm like, it can't be that difficult. So I had a wee garage, I had a wee bungalow at the time. It was my first house. I had a wee detached garage. There's nothing in it, it was just storage. So I tore it out, sheeted it, made it into a nice looking wee work. And I mean, honestly, it wasn't even the size of this room. Mm-hmm. So I invested in a wee cheap printer, tiny wee bench, a wee tiny plotter and an iMac. And I went at it for home. This was in 2012, February 2012. And that was me, you know. I just plodded away in there.
So were you doing everything yourself at that point?
Everything.
So you had to learn the full shoot match. Oh, that's half of the bits you weren't doing before.
All the stuff I never done, I was learning.
And did you just feel like you wanted to be in control of all of that though? Because this guy, even though maybe you took your eye off the ball a wee bit, but he'd kind of probably let you down twice, because you're actually going hammer and tong here, knocking it out the park, thinking production's great, we should be making money, and then
and we weren't.
So at least this way you'd be in charge of like your own destiny as such.
I'm doing everything. As I say, obviously the advantage I had then is I already had a client base. Yeah. So I mean, all these guys that we were working for, I already had them. Yeah. I know I'm saying there we weren't making any money. The good thing about that was I never had any overheads at that point. Yeah. So I could entertain kind of what they were paying at that point, because I was working from home and it was just my wage I had to find. So I had a client base, and again I was doing everything: signage, window graphics, banner. I even bought myself a wee mic or so, and I started making canvas prints, personalised canvas prints. Birthday, but I started there was a big building that somebody took over in Coatbridge. It was called Paddy's Market, named after Paddy's Market for Glasgow for years ago. And it was just a market opened on a Sunday, and it was everything, do you know what I mean? So I went down there and I'd inquired about a wee stall, and I was down there on I don't know if it was a Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember, but I was down there at the weekend on my wee stool with loads of birthday banners stapled onto the walls and canvas prints and all that, and I was down there trying to make a buck as well. And then I was coming home and I was cutting all the timber out the back and I'm stapling them all together and wrapping canvases. And some days I could sit there and no turn a coin. Yeah. you know what I mean, for 8 hours and no get a single order. Some days I could be 250 quid orders and I'm like that. So, but again, it was just that thing I had in me, like I just want to earn,
opportunity,
you know what I mean?
and get out there and make something happen.
Never lasted a great deal of time, but I done it anyway. I tried it. So in the garage, I had everything I needed apart from a laminator, which was a problem. Because everything you need to do, obviously vehicles and things like that, it needs to be laminated for external. So I had to get somebody to do my laminating for me. Right. So I kind of looked about and I chapped a company in Coatbridge again. I was in Bellshill at that point. And I says, look guys, I'm operating from my house. I don't have a laminator. If I bring you stuff down, how much will it cost? They say, we'll do it for £1 a metre. So I'm printing 50 metres of vinyl and I'm sticking it in the back of the motor and I'm running down, I'm dropping it off and I'm giving them the laminate and all. I'm just asking them for their time. Yeah. So they were doing all my laminating for me, which was a bit of a pain, but that is what it was, you know. So this happened for a couple of months and I went in one day to uplift some stuff and the boss says, Gary, I'm going to need to find somebody else to do your laminating. And I says, can I ask why? And he says, you've come in with quite a few jobs that we've quoted for. Oh, right. And we've not got them. Obviously, you're able to undercut us because you're working from home. And I'm like, but you're getting a wee bit to laminate them. Is it no better having a wee bit than nothing? And they're like, nah, there's a bit of conflict of interest here. So we'll just need to cut ties now. And I went, right, cool, fair dues. So at that point, I'd met Carol Ann, my wife, and she had a garage as well. When I'd met her, she had a garage, there was nothing in it. So I'm like, right, fuck it. I'm going to buy a laminator and we'll put a laminator in your garage. I'll have the printer and all that in my garage, right? It wasn't far away, it was about a 10-minute drive. So I'm running back and forth all the time with rolls of print and the laminator in our garage along with treadmills and dartboards and everything, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to clear space to laminate my prints. We moved house a wee while after that and we got a bigger garage and I was able to get it all under the one. Yeah. And so it was a bit of a bonus. So I'd done that for 5 years. Picked up some good customers on the way. Sqft being one of the biggest customers that I kind of picked up at that point. From the garage, aye. So what happened was I was in and out of Western Commercial in Glasgow doing wee liveries for companies like Martin Plant Hire and things like that. So got to know the guys and the lassies in there. And I got a phone call from a woman one day, Liz, and she says, Gary, I've got something that might interest you. Sqft are buying 20 sprinters. They were asking if we knew anybody that could do the wraps and whatnot. Their current guy can only do one a week, right, which isn't the idea. It's going to take half a year virtually to brand them all. Yeah. Are you interested? And I'm like, aye. So I'm like, the suit on, the tie and all that. And I drives up to Dunfermline the next day and I chaps the door on my laptop and I says, I'm here about your vans. I'd heard that you're, and I get my foot in the door and that was it, man. I just got chatting to them, gave them a price, rounded up a good few freelancers that I knew and we went on site to do them and I went out and I was helping and whatnot. So that was 2017. I think that was, and they're still a client to this day, a top client to this day. So it was good.
Just shows you like after like that kind of, you know, it's that whole thing. Like if anybody was starting a business, you would be telling them probably how hard it is at the start, and then you're going to the stall on the Saturday or the Sunday. Like you're literally like that is the proper that's just entrepreneurism, isn't it? It's like getting there, you get the stall, you didn't make any that day, but the next time you do, and then you get a wee bit addicted to that buzz, and then like actually running between the garages, and then this guy's cut you off, but then to actually come sort of to land a big client like that, and then keep them forever more as well. It just shows like so many lessons in that.
Just keep your head down and just keep going. So 5 years in the garage, great, no overheads, no hassles. It was brilliant. I was doing amazing. But I started to get a wee bit fed up. I was at the house all the time. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I was never away for the house. And I'd got up through the night. It started to overtake a wee bit, like take over everything you'd done.
Because everything was in the garage and it was actually in your house.
Was there. So I'd got up at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning to go to the toilet. And I'd run down the stair, see if the print had finished. See if the print that was on the machine had finished, take it off, change your roll, send another 20 metres of stuff to print while I'm sleeping. Do you know what I mean? Because you can just let them run. It's going 50p, 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 and you can just stand there and watch it all day. At the start, you're like, oh, yes. So it kind of took over a wee bit. And then that's when I started to look into, I could be doing a wee place away for the house and maybe somebody to give me a hand because it was getting busy. So I looked into a wee unit around the corner for the house, 5 minutes round the corner, and I'd seen it was up for let. Asked to view it, went down. He opens up the door, but unbeknown to me, it was like an L shape. Yeah. You live in my old unit, right? Yeah. So when I first went to view it, I thought it was just a wee bit on the corner, the first unit I ever had before we broke through.
Because you went round and you had the full sort of L shape, but it almost was becoming a U near enough. Aye.
So it was like 11, so it was 3,000 square feet in total, but the wee unit that I thought it was the only one, it was 1,100. Right. So when I went in, there was a hole knocked in the wall when he took me through, and I'm like, wow, look at this space. And I says, no, it's only this unit that I'm looking to, and he says, no, this comes as one. Yeah. And I'm like, I says, mate, I can't afford that. I says, I'm just me. I says, I would love to, I wish I had a crystal ball and say, right, okay, where do I sign? I says, but I can't do that. So I went away. I was a bit disheartened. And a few months passed again, and I don't know if he reached out to me or whatever. I can't remember what happened. But they blocked the hole up and they made it into 2 units. Yeah. So I get back in again and I'm like, no, this is more what I'm into, I can afford this. And it was just all off the back of the C.R. Smith. You know what I mean? When I got that check for the 20 bands, I've never seen that before. I'm like, wow, put it in, and I'm like, I can make the move now, you know what I mean? I can try and
heads above water kind of thing. Let's see what the next step is.
A bit of security and just so that's what helped me along the way, and I'll always thank C.R. Smith for that. Do you know what I mean? It's always in my head. Guy I dealt with initially, he's gone now. God bless him. But I always remember him. Do you know what I mean? And just I do believe that he was a part of a link in the chain that kind of got me. Kind of like now.
Came along when you probably needed him most, to be fair, and it just
unbeknown to him, but it started a big thing for me. So I needed somebody to give me a hand. I'd signed the lease on the unit, 5-year lease, and I'm like, I need somebody to give me a hand. So going back to the companies I was talking about previously, the second company I worked for, who when the first one went down, the guys that I stayed in touch with, the guys that I was working with there. So I says to Gaz, I phoned him up and I says, listen mate, I've took on a unit and I don't know what your thoughts are, but I'm kind of needing somebody to, do you know what I mean, be my wingman. And he's like, oh, I don't know, mate. And he's like, I'm doing night shifts and all that. And he says, it's no ideal, but I'm on good money and things like that. And I'm like, I can't offer you the world, do you know what I mean? You're my first employee, but I think the thought he came back to a 9-5, because he was saying to me, he's like, I'm not really seeing my wee boy doing the night shifts. He's going to sleep, he's going to school and whatnot. So he'd thought about it, and then he phoned me up one day and he's like, do you know what, mate, let's do it. And my stomach just sank, and I'm like, fuck. So I've got a unit now that I need to pay for. Somebody else's wage I need to pay for. I'm like, shit, so I bottled it a wee bit, and it was a wee bit uneasy, but it's like anything after a week or two, it comes second nature. But it was good. There was a 2 years, and that's the way I thought it was always going to be. I thought the 2 years will be fine. We've got a decent client base. We can make enough money. 2 years can have a decent, decent living out it. And I remember a Friday we'd be like, there's not much left to do, Mum, we'll just jump up to McDonald's and then we'll call it a day and things like that, the good old days. So that was it. The 2 years just plodded away, and at that point I thought, right, I'm going to concentrate on raps now. The raps are what I enjoy doing. I like seeing them getting done and the signage and that. I'm like, let's just start phasing it out. I never had things like that hard when working at the house because I didn't have anywhere to actually take the vehicles. Do you know what I mean? So if a partial wrap or something did arise, I'd be saying to my mate who's got the coach builders just along the road,
Yeah.
can I use your space for the day? And it wasn't that professional.
Yeah.
I just take it down to the coach builders in there. So
I'm sure like when I got my first van ever done off you, it was van livery, and I'm sure it was maybe like at the coach builder's place or something.
Probably
Like that.
I
I remember that would have been. I'm trying to think when that actually would have been. It was maybe like 2016. So that would have been. You say it was 2017. You got the unit. No, it was after that.
It would have been 17. Aye.
Who cares about the dates anyway? But I like because I met you at BNI. It was, and we got chatting, and then I think at that point, I think I only had like one van, and then this was my second van, or it was maybe my third van, and they had been like liveried by somebody else, but it was just like an alright job, but I'd never been kind of over the moon with it. And then I met you at BNI, and I can't remember if it was like, did you know you used to say something like tube for cube or something that just stuck in my mind. It was like,
that's what they used to call me, the tube for cube.
But there was like, you had a wee like motto thing at the time, and it actually did stick in my mind. And I was like, next time I get a van, I'll give him a shout. And then I mind giving you a shout. And it was like, I never knew anything else either. Like if I think Cube Wraps as it is the day, and we send a vehicle through there, like this place is amazing, service brilliant, blah blah blah. But like back then, like I had never experienced anything like that either. So I just always thought it was like guys for the house would do it or whatever. So when the van came through to you, you were like, well, I can do it, but well, I'll need you to take it up to this wee place. And then I was to meet you up there and all that. And it was kind of almost like, and I was probably like this when I started doing the roofing, like, do you know, I'm like, I can do the job, but then you're actually going, I need to get a couple of folk in to help me here or something. So you know, you're probably just proper entrepreneuring it up at that point, and I'm just like thinking, oh, that's great, he's done a good job with that. And then I just kept sending you vans, and then at some point I think you just said, oh, we didn't really do the livery as much now, it's the wrap. And I can't actually remember what the first wrap we maybe got was, but I
remember. I think it was just like recess panels we done for you, just filling in the recesses.
And then so it kind of like, and that's how I wanted to get you on, to get that like, well, we're not there yet, but get that journey, because like everything you're saying there, like I sort of done similar. It was like I was working for the house. It was 24/7. Like I'd be getting up in the middle of the night for a pee like you, but I'd be doing a roofing quote and then sending that off and try to think, oh, I wonder if that's like they'll know that I sent it at that time, or nah, maybe they'll no bother. And you know, people's probably getting emails at 3 a.m. and all that. And but no, it resonates so much. But I think it probably resonates right across, like not just construction, but like business in general. Like you usually go back to, who did you work with before? Is there somebody for there I could get because I know them? And like all them wee bits all kind of add up. But no, anyway, mate. So you kind of niched at that point, so you were going. That's
right, aye. So we thought, right, let's just phase it out. And you couldn't just turn around to all your customers and say, sorry, mate, we don't do that now. It wasn't fair. Do you know what I mean? So you would cherry pick and say, right, we'll still do this and this and this, but we're not going to advertise it anymore. We're not going to take on new stuff. We'll see this out, and that was it. So we were just kind of battering the wraps, and you know what I mean, just honing in on that. Now, when we got that first unit, that phone, I'm like, is that plugged in? Do you know what I mean? It just sat there, man, gathering dust. It never went for months, and we're like, what's going on? And it was just, we had work, but it was all the existing. They all had my mobile number. You know what I mean? So they're all phoning my mobile. Yeah. There's no new people phoning, no new customers phoning the landline or anything like that. And it was on the van, and you know, and but why is nobody phoning? You know what I mean? It was quite worrying, but eventually it started going, and that was it. So there was me and guys, and then we brought in a full-time installer, again, a guy we knew from the past, brought in a trainee, and it started picking up to the point it was getting too busy. I wasn't getting back to people. People were phoning me. I wasn't able to call them back. I wasn't answering emails. People were starting to get a bit ratty, and I'm like, shit, I'm out my depth here. Do you know what I mean? I can't do all this. And the guys that I had in, as I say, that wasn't their bag. They couldn't help with that. Do you know what I mean? They were production guys and rappers and stuff. They weren't in the admin or anything like that. So that's when my wife came in. So my wife, Caroline comes from a financial background. She had a decent job. She was a CEO in a credit union. And she was totally committed to it, you know what I mean? She would sit at 10, 11 o'clock. You wake up sometimes in the morning when I was going to change that role, and she'd be sitting with the phone, and I'm like, what are you doing? I'm just trying to do this for work and all that. And I'm like, it's 3 in the morning, man. And I'm like, you're not getting anything extra for that or any thanks for that, you know? Yeah. So I says to Caroline, I says, listen, man, I says, I think you need to join me. I says, I think you need to quit your job and come on board. And she's like, what do I know? I don't know. Do you mean a smart car is or a scanny is? I don't know nothing about it. Yeah. And I'm like, you don't need to. You'll learn that. I says, you just need to, help me keep an eye on emails and phone calls and systemize. There was no systems. Everything was there. Right? And if it wasn't for Caroline at this day, everything would still be in there because I'm not a systems guy at all. Pen and paper.
Like, I just resonate exactly because it's pretty much exactly what I done. And it's probably, see, at that time, you're a bit scared, because you're like, you know what to probably bring in, like a brand new admin person that that's maybe had admin jobs before and you didn't even really know what an admin job maybe looks like.
Exactly.
But then if it's your wife, you're kind of like, we'll figure it out, like it'll be fine. And then you kind of convince them, and then it's like, it's all crazy and a bit wild, but it's fine. Like,
no,
we'll get it done. It does
definitely
take that kind of edge off it. And I know there's a lot of people that can't work with their partners basically, but me and Kelly's had our ups and downs with it, like, over the years, and it can be difficult. Like you said, you can't really switch off when you go home and that as well. Even if you have got the premises,
it's talking about work at the weekend, and
it's 24/7. But it has got its benefits where, like, everybody in that house effectively is trying to make the business be better, because you're like, what we do right here comes back into the house and makes the house better.
Exactly.
It is a good way to go if you can kind of deal with each other in that way, because it can be hard, like.
But at that point, we didn't know it was going to be hard because we'd never done it. I'm just thinking that it'll be plain sailing, no bother.
It'll be fine.
Quite a job come in and we're all good.
Yeah.
So we didn't know the challenges it would bring and stuff like that.
So she kind of got the admin and that sorted in the finances.
It took her a wee while. She declined me firstly, do you know what I mean? So it took a couple of months chipping away at it. And saying, look, and then she came in one day and she showed me this bit of paper, and I said, what's that? She went, this my letter of resignation. And I went, oh no. She says, I've handed it in. It's a copy of it. And again, my stomach just went, whoosh, and I'm like, oh fuck no.
You know you need to do it the way. Like,
it needs done.
It's like, it's scary, but you're also like, this is like, you've actually had so much pain up to that point that you're like, I know I need to do this. Even though it's going to be scary, you just need to. It's the same with every hire that you make, really.
Definitely.
When you're taking on the extra unit or whatever, and then you come on to it, maybe taking on the new place, but you've just got to do it. There's no really any two ways about it.
No, definitely. So that was it.
So did you knock that wall down again then? Is that?
So it got to a point where in that small unit, I think there might have been 6 years. So it was me, Caroline, Gaz. Probably about 6 years in that wee 1,100 square feet. So we're starting to fall over the top of each other, only getting one vehicle in at a time. Sometimes I know, because it was a wee ramp going up into the roller shutter. If it was a van that had a beacon on it, or not even a beacon, just with suspension sat quite high, we had to let the air out. We had to let the air out the back tyres, try and throw 4 people into the back of it. Do you know what I mean? Just to try and drop it down a wee bit, because it was scuffing the top. It was going to scuff the top of the shutter. There's a daft wee things like that.
You just didn't realise what that's probably doing to your production as well.
Mental. So she came in and she started, slowly but surely, trying to kind of systemise things and do this and have procedures. And to say there wasn't any procedures, it was all in there, and it was fucking bedlam. And that was her job, and I strongly believe we wouldn't be where we're at today if Caroline never stepped in, because I'm no good at that. Do you know what I mean? She holds the purse strings and she holds them tight. Do you know what I mean? I'll spend money in absolute garbage, not garbage, but marketing stuff, and she's like, you're going to spend that much in what key things, and I wouldn't think twice about it. I'm just like, we'll deal with it, and I think that's how it works so well. She can keep a hold of me, do you know what I mean? And she's
so you can be creative and think of the good ideas, but she'll bring them into check a wee bit, and then it kind of like you maybe meet in the middle almost, and it's that's a good idea, rather than that would have been a bit chaotic and a bit crazy.
So it's at the point now, it's like, I want to do this. And she's like, let me see how much you've got left in your marketing spend for this month. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, right, okay, fair dues.
And it's worth it, that kind of getting told no there's worth it, because it's better than the pain of like having nobody there, and like when you could just do everything you wanted, but then you had to also pick up the mess.
Aye.
So it's good to sometimes say somebody in your corner to kind of pull you in a wee bit and be like, are you sure you want to make this decision? Because you know how painful it will be.
I know.
And then sometimes you've still got to make it the way. Like I've noticed that Kelly's sometimes like, oh, I don't know, and I'm like, I know we need to do this, and then we just go for it, and it's like usually everything catches up to meet it, but 9 times out of 10 you're probably better off just getting reined in a bit.
That's it. I know. So that was it. Caroline jumped on board. We started getting busy. We got to the point where like, we could be doing with that unit next door now. So it was a cleaning company next door, and they were up and they were off, and we're like, right, phone the landlord, see what the score is, see how much they want. And that was it. Deal was done. I says, I'm not looking to sign another 5. At this point, we were 3 years in the small unit. I says, I'm not looking to sign another 5. I says, I want to take this on to finish at the same terms as, because we didn't know if we were going to stay there. Do you know what I mean? We didn't know if it was suitable with the roller shutter, and we couldn't do trucks or anything like that. It was like out on site, which was horrible, because you're at the mercy of them. You're getting chucked out at 4 o'clock. The roller shutter's up and doing all the time. The cold's coming in. You're working in puddles of oil, and just horrible doing on site stuff. So we couldn't do any of that. Do you know what I mean? When in that unit, so we took that on for the remainder of the 2 years. And as soon as we signed that lease for the second part, COVID hit. And that was it. We're like that. So we were paying for that unit and we weren't even in it.
Oh man.
It is what it is. Everybody faced the challenges of COVID. But after I went in, I was in my cell and I was painting the floor and trying to tart it up a wee bit and stuff like that for coming back. And it was great. So we kind of grew from 6 A's to maybe 8, 9 A's in that unit. And that was it, man. It was, but whenever we returned back, and I think that was just a boom for Cube Raps. It was mental. Everybody was getting the bounce back loans and stuff, and I know a lot of people are going out and buying motors and all the rest of it, but a lot of people were investing it properly and getting their vans wrapped, and we just couldn't keep up. We were like, what's happening? It was just different. For that 3 months gap, but when we came back, it was mayhem, to the point where like, this unit's not good to us anymore.
That's crazy.
So
much uncertainty, but then gone, here we go.
Aye, absolute mental. So that was us. We're like, we need to start looking for another premises. So we found the one we're in. We rent it, obviously, not obviously, but at the minute, yes, I'd love to have bought it, but we're renting it just now. But we had to extend our lease because it wasn't quite ready. We had to do there was no roller shutter in it. It was an old kids soft play area. Used to take the kids there myself, and it was 4 levels high, big slides, climbing walls, balls everywhere, and used to take the kids there, and to say the guy that bought it, we'd got chatting to him, and I says that would be perfect for us. However, just needing a big 5 metre shutter put in it, and obviously all the stuff ripped out of it. So there was a lot of time and a lot of money thrown into the refurb, getting it the way it is. So we spoke to the landlord. I think they get like a 3-month extension or something like that. And he was like, right, that's fine. And that was it. And moved in there and we've never looked back.
That looks amazing.
It's just.
And would you outgrow that, or is that sort of like that's a belter, eh?
It's a beauty, mate. Aye, it is. I don't think we would outgrow it. I don't know, to be honest.
Maybe end up with a second place or something like that, potentially.
Potentially, aye. We can easily get 12 vehicles in there, no bother. We're never going to have that amount of fitters that can work on 12 vehicles at a time. So I think it's more about just growing the team, finding the team, which you'll know is no easy. And I think, potentially we could be there for a long time, if not forever. But you just don't know what's around the corner. I don't want to continue renting it all my days. So unless there was an option there and he says, right, okay, do you want to buy it? Or we need to go and get somewhere or find somewhere else, or I don't know. But it's only, it's a 10-year lease with a 5-year break.
Yeah.
So anything can happen at that 5-year break as
Well,
well.
if you look at the story so far, that trajectory's been always sort of up.
So I don't know what will happen. We love the building. We think it's brilliant, and it's worked wonders. The amount of work we've had since moving in there. As I was talking about the trucks and stuff like that.
I've seen them on your LinkedIn. And
but that's all it is. You see, just as soon as you start posting a couple of photos on LinkedIn when you've got tractor units in there, you don't need to go looking for it. Yeah. It just comes to you. And we've got trucks in every week now, monsters, and we couldn't have done that before. Yeah. You know what I mean? Having that old unit. So. It's been brilliant.
It's quite the story, mate. Like to go for like almost the garage, then the 2 garages, then I need to take this up to the coach builders, and then you're kind of like almost like just kind of that kind of ducking and diving kind of way, just try to make ends meet to get in the unit, then going, I didn't want the one next door, but then actually going, no, I do need the one next door.
Yeah,
and that was COVID hit in, and you're going, this could be a nightmare here. We've just signed this lease, probably thinking it was like worst mistake you've ever made, and then literally like however many months later, it's booming, and you're like, we need out of here. Like, it's class to be fair.
It was mental, absolutely mental. But we're happy now. We're in there. We're settled. It took us a long time. You know yourself.
But we did the same here. When we moved here, we'd got the keys, but it took us like a year to refurb it. So it was an absolute nightmare, to be honest. We got like extensions and stuff like that, but it just never even, like, I think we got a 3-month extension, but we just never got it done in that time. And we just didn't want to move and not have it right. So we like had our old place on the go, and then we actually had like another wee place as well. Like it was an overspill to our main kind of offices and warehouse, and so we ended up like at one point we had like this place plus the other 2, and then we weren't even moved in here yet. And you're paying rent here, and it was like you're juggling it all, but like there's no other way.
There's no,
because you're not just going to go out of there the day in there the morning. Like, even when we finally just about got in here, it was like we had a really big issue with like getting fibre into the building. There wasn't a good internet connection or anything in here, so it was like that took like we were just near enough in, and then like they had to dig the road up and stuff, and it got caught in a like a queuing system somewhere, and it was just like taking forever. And I was trying to like phone all the contacts I had, and like didn't know anybody in at Virgin, and we ended up getting somebody. We spoke to like the main guy, and he pushed it forward and stuff, but it was just chaos, really, to be honest. But you just make it work, eh?
You do. Our transition from the old place to the new place, actually, it wasn't too bad. I mean, we done it overnight. We thought, right, we can't stop production here. Do you know what I mean? We can't afford to stop for a few days and sort this out. We need to keep going. So we were moving stuff out of the old unit. The guys were still in wrapping vans. And then it was like, then there was some still finishing vans in the old unit. There was new vans turned up at the new unit. So some of the team were over there starting the new one. So for that kind of 1 day or 2 days, there was vans getting wrapped in both of them. So nothing stopped. I'm not saying we were at 100% capacity, but
you would have been similar.
We were still
because we were like, obviously we were still on all the roofs, but then maybe it's like a couple of days there, like the phone maybe wasn't getting answered right because people was trying to like set their offices up here and get the phones up and running and testing everything. But
it took us a year. See, when it took us a year to properly settle in and just get everything the way we wanted to be. Teething issues here, teething issues there. There was all sorts of challenges. But
there always is.
Just grind away.
The show must go on as always, and you just keep pushing through it all. Yeah. And I think probably with that, the way that you've niched in as well, it's like probably that probably is like your USP is such. It's like because you're like rattling out them raps time and time and time again. That's why you became the go-to, isn't it? Really, people out of the UK come to travel to you.
People were travelling from. We had a guy up a couple of weeks ago from Bournemouth to get one done. Previously, a guy from Essex.
And is this just a word of mouth thing? They're like, because there must be somebody doing there, no?
It's just social media, really, isn't it? I mean, obviously we've done one for. There's been a guy for Derby. Has come up 7 or 8 times.
I think I know the guy.
I think you do actually.
Solar. I can't remember his name off.
Electrical Innovations.
Nice one.
So he's been up 7 or 8 times. Drives up for Derby. And it's just happening all the time.
I think it just becomes like routine as well. Like we've just put a truck into there this week, and it's just, I wouldn't think of any other way really.
I know.
And I think for me, I've seen that journey the full way, and we've kind of been on the similar trajectory all the way. It's our stories are like quite closely aligned, so
definitely.
I think you just probably get more buy into it than that. Like whereas if maybe somebody just sees Cube Wraps as it is today, they maybe not heard all of that story. So hopefully them hearing this will let them know like how much actually went into all of that. So what do you think the sort of the future holds? Is there anything more growth plans or anything new coming up? Or
it's like anything, Jamie. There's a few ideas bouncing about inside my head now. Probably don't want to say too much in case it doesn't happen or whatever, but I think it's just a case of, head down and keep going, and see what happens.
Well, it's served you well.
We do a wee bit of networking now. We started I don't know if you're aware about it, but we started a wee networking event. Do it once a month now, and the reason for that is because we've got such a wide, clientele, roofers, builders, dog walkers, bakers. There's all sorts of synergies. We look at our client base of probably, I think it's about 1,800 clients, and you look at them all and you just know that you could work with that one and blah, blah, blah. So we're like, so that's why I thought, what, man, we could get all the guys, get them all into the room, just a couple of hours. We put on a wee spread as well. It doesn't cost them and it's no like BNI. We're not charging £1,000 a year to be a member. We're not putting a black mark against your name if you don't turn up. We're not saying, you can't come because we've already got a roofing company. It's
just
like
a bit more relaxed.
It's relaxed. I'm even thinking about introducing a swear box because we just come in and everybody swears and we tell jokes and we play games.
You're due my swear box a few coins a day.
Probably, man. I know. I am who I am. You said to be myself, didn't you?
Certainly.
So we do that as well, and it just keeps you in the limelight a wee bit because all the people that come along, they'll take a picture and they'll post it. Oh, was at Gary's networking event in the day, and it's on LinkedIn, and this one sees it and that one sees it.
Good.
There's a lot of people.
It's a wee bit of giving back as well, really.
Exactly,
it's like you said, you've got that network there. Why not try and get them all sort of together?
Aye, definitely. And if they get a 10 grand job out of that,
yeah,
they're going to go, that was Gary that got me that, so I'm going to probably need to keep my ear and see if there's anything, you know what I mean? And I've got work out it already. And people have passed me details and referrals, and I know this guy's got a new van and a couple of vans. And
sometimes when you go into it that way, that it's like, you're not just there for, right, I want business out of this. You create something, you get it kind of moving, and then usually what happens is by default, you're going to get a bit of business because it's just building relationships.
That's it.
So we networking works. What maybe for the construction business owners then, what would be your kind of pointers on like why they should go with their apps, or
it's just keeping with the times. I mean, they're more expensive. Everybody knows that. You can spend £300 and get 4 logos put in your van, a phone number and a web address. Does anybody look twice at it? No, they don't. So everybody's doing it. If you get it from the get-go as well, if you delivery miles on it, it's protection as well for the paint. No, nothing's bulletproof. It's not going to stop the van from denting. People ask you daft questions like that sometimes, and you're like, if it takes a dun, it takes a dun.
Yeah.
It's
more like stone chips and stuff. It's going to help it.
Light scratches and abrasions, and whenever you're washing it and stuff like that, it protects the vehicle. But for me, it's worth its weight in gold.
They look phenomenal. I couldn't imagine us no wrapping now. Like it just looks too good.
Yeah.
And then when you get the full fleet sort of aligned, because we took a wee bit of time because we had been using somebody prior to you, and then we kind of came on with you, and then sort of went through that journey. So then I was like, I need to get these old ones kind of dropped off, and then it's always a thing when it comes to at some point you're going to need to do all the fleet again, and but it's like you're just kind of, we've been keeping everything just kind of in line now, but there is that time where you're probably got to go rebrand. And
there is, and that's a question we get faced
you'll
with.
Be like that.
It's like
you should rebrand there, Jamie. 20 old vans now.
That haulage company, for example, and they're like, their dad's giving them the business, and they've got the new trucks coming in, and I'll say, lose the pinstripes, man. Do you know what I mean? That's traditional. It's 80s, but that's the way my dad's always had it, and I don't want to change it. But if I do that one differently, it means that there's going to be that transition period. You're going to have 3, 4, maybe 5 years where you're going to have the updated design and the old design. There's no getting by that unless you strip them on. It's going to cost a fortune. So if you want to do it, do it. But if you do need to obviously just live with that. You're going to have a couple of different designs for that time frame until you phase them out.
In general, like, what did you say? Branding brings business.
Branding brings business.
It is true. Like going back years ago, it used to be, well, you didn't want a white van man kind of image. You want to have a nice liveried or branded vehicle. But now it's like it's went up a level. Like you said, you could have decent van livery, but like now there's like wraps and it's, you know, like people are getting the back doors done or all different designs. You're getting really creative with it now. It's like if you want to actually set yourself apart a wee bit, like I think the last 2 Rangers you did for us, they've got like the matte finish.
Yeah.
Just changes the eye a wee bit when you look at it. Different for the gloss. It just draws your attention to it that wee bit more, and people's eyes do pick up on them small details.
Because it looks like a full wrap. You're not going to buy a matte white Ranger. We all know that they don't sell them in matte white. But I mean, budget wise, people might say, oh, $3,000 for a big van, and I've got 20 of them. God, it's a costly affair to wrap them all, but you don't need to be spending that much. You know, wrap the back doors and throw a kind of big enough livery on the side. Do something for, £800, £1,000 if you've got a big fleet. So there's loads of different solutions and combinations that you can do. Just a case, if you're obviously, if anybody wants to chat, reach out and we can have a chat.
What's the best way for people to get in touch with you then?
LinkedIn for me is probably the platform that I use the most, or obviously just email.
Email in or call the office basically.
Connect with me on LinkedIn. We'll
put stuff in the bio anyway, but that was brilliant, mate. I enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it?
I did.
Good. It's almost like therapy sometimes, going through that journey a wee bit and then remembering all the bits. And for me as well, just because we've been on similar journeys, I think I properly started 2013. And you started, it was 2012. So it was like we were always kind of round about the same kind of mark, and we kind of went on that trajectory together. So pleasure, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Likewise, Jamie. Brilliant. Thanks very much.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed that one. If you did, then like and subscribe as always, and don't forget to reach out to Gary if you're needing any wraps done on your vehicles. We'll put something in the bio so that you can see some of the fantastic work that he's been doing for us at Taylor Roofs, but also just all over the UK. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you in the next one.